So welcome back to the Chakra Bloom series. If you have, again, if you missed last week, go to YouTube, find out about the overview if you're interested in that. If not, this is totally fine. We can move forward from here. The Chakra series is a great way to align our prana, our life force energy, and expand our spiritual wealth and wisdom and growth and awareness. So our energy can become clogged. And that's why we work with the chakra system. It can become stagnant. Many different areas can cause it to be clogged. So like unquestioned loyalties or things that just no longer serve us. Places of unforgiveness. The feeling of being overworked and underloved. Traumas. These are just some of the ways that our energy can become blocked. So to help us to stay in the flow, we want to continue to ask, who are we here to be and what's blocking that? Rose brought up in the meditation already that the affirmation for the root chakra is I have, which is an interesting thing to think about. And we'll go into it today, taking an assessment of what do we have? Good and bad. Like what have we allowed into our consciousness? If you were to draw a picture of a circle and put yourself right in the center of it and put into the circle everything that you have in your life, whether that is I have cancer or I have millions or I have many friends or I have one good friend, that is what you have. And so we want to work with what we have because when we acknowledge what is, then we can heal what is no longer serving us and we can nurture and be in gratitude for what is. So that's one of the ways that we navigate past these blocks. The root chakra is foundational. It's the foundation. And if the foundation is strong, we can rise to great lengths. Most of the time we have blind spots around what those blocks are that are blocking us from rising. Usually when we have blind spots, we don't even know what we don't know. And so instead of dealing with it, we sometimes will like be in conversation with what we want to come into our lives. And if we have a block, we'll literally negate that from showing up. Or we'll find a way to sabotage ourselves from having that show up. Or we will not even trust, that we have a blind spot and we'll say that's not for me. You ever date a really nice guy and you're like, this guy is too nice. Like I need to get rid of him. Like you might have had that experience. That's like the unconscious that can wreak havoc in the root chakra. Like we don't even know what's good for us. So in dealing with the root chakra, it helps us to take a true stock. And it's also all about safety. It's the place where we rest and we get grounded and we get fortified. So think about like coming home. It's the place where you rest, where you feel grounded and where you get fortified. And this chakra, as Rose said, it's located in the lower spine and it anchors us to the earth. It's very much about being present. This morning I was having a conversation with one of the powerhouse women at Speakeasy, and she was just telling me that she was slightly looking over her shoulder at an old situation, an old crucifixion that was feeling like a little bit of agitation. And she had still a desire to kind of fix it or change it. And I was telling her that what I was seeing was like she was walking down the grocery store aisle with like a beautiful basket filled with organic foods, and that she was finding herself eyeing the junk food at the checkout, and that the ego was whispering like, you might still want some of that, there's a sale on that junk food 2 for 1. Like might want to feast on some of those old thoughts and stagnations that can rock you at the roots. So we want to continue to bring ourselves back to what fully fuels us and heals us, not what leaves us feeling empty and unfueled. So we want to look at this week those places that have gone stagnant, that are no longer birthing energy for us, and that we might want to let go of. So the roots ask us to be where we are, to look at what we have. The affirmation is I have. And it helps us to make peace also with just being right here. It's the first chakra, and it's the foundational chakra. It's about the form. It's about the body, the idea that I'm in a body, that this body lives in a world on the earth, that I am in relationship with this body and I am in relationship with the world and the earth. This chakra helps us to be rooted. And if we're unrooted, even as spiritual beings, as spiritual teachers and spiritual thirsty folks, we might have the tendency to be like, whatever, you know, God will take care of it. I'm just going to manifest my way into happiness. You know, I don't really live in the real world. The world isn't real. I mean, as Course in Miracles students, we say this every day. It's not a real world, but that can cause us to be detached from the world and detached from the body. And we don't want to do that. We want to work with the body. We want to really have a healthy trifecta of body, mind, and spirit. The root chakra helps us to engage with practicing with the human experience, the elements of the earth. So this chakra ties us to all the earthy goodness. So when you think about earthy goodness, like what do you think about? And how can that tether you? Because if you don't have those places where you feel connected, you will feel like an untethered kite. So the question with this root chakra is, what grounds you? When I think about what grounds me, every time writing is at the top of the list. Like, I have to write things down. Writing things down is so very grounding for me. And it's also sort of a universal practice. I mean, we hear all the time, like, write it down, make it happen. You know, to-do lists are so helpful to people. Every single day I write anyhow, but I also use writing as a way to keep me on track and help me to feel grounded. If I have a problem or a situation that's agitating, I can think about it all I want, but the minute I start to write it down, I get solutions. And so writing can be a very grounding exercise. It helps us to focus. It helps us to get clear. It helps us to stay grounded. Think about Jesus when he talked to Helen about writing the Course in Miracles. He said, this is a Course in Miracles. Please take note. There's an honoring that happens when you write. In the same way that there's an honoring that happens when you actually pay attention to the clock. This is an earthly construct, but it can be helpful. When you pay attention to the calendar, it's an earthly construct, but it can be so very helpful. It can help us to move into healthy agreements. I'm going to meet you at 12:30. If I'm ungrounded, I'll be like, well, you know, 12:30-ish. You know, we don't want to live in an ishy-wishy life. We want to allow ourselves to feel safe and others to feel safe as well by using these systems that are actually for safety, for a feeling of honesty. Other things that can make you feel grounded, can help with feeling grounded, is your family of origin, having a clean home, you know, clean sheets, organized closets, eating healthy, homemade, home-cooked meals, using herbs from your garden. All of these things can make you feel like, like safe in a very good way. Not in a safe, I'm afraid way, but in a safe way that feels like an embrace. So the chakra is safety. So we begin with the root chakra, and this is the beginning of the journey, this maiden voyage back to yourself. And we're going to use the body on this journey. We're going to be responsible for caring for the body, not to negate the body. The root is the seed of manifesting. So I love this line from this poem. It says, nothing can be loved at speed. So when we get to the root and we want to manifest and put down roots into an idea, we have to slow down enough to really allow roots to form. You know, creation needs us to hold space for the dream to take root. It can't be loved at speed. If we're rushing from this to that, or this idea, or this idea, or this idea, nothing will ever take root. So this is a foundational piece of manifesting your life, is to honor a root process. This chakra also has 4 petals, and the petals can represent the 4 directions. When we first started out as Speakeasy, before that we were called Sanctuary, and I was partnered with Charlene Vickery, who was very much into the 4 directions. That was her whole body of work. That was her spiritual backbone. So we had mixed the 4 directions with A Course in Miracles, and we tossed in a little of the chakras. And actually I started teaching for that community the chakras right as we started. We were using a program that I created called Chakra Bloom. But I wanted to show you our logo so you could kind of get an understanding about what our root agreements are and our root philosophy is at Speakeasy. I love this logo, but there it is next to me over my shoulder. And if you can see that it literally has roots in it. Do you see the roots there? It's 2 men praying in the opposite direction, because it signifies that we were okay with people having different points of view. So you see these two men, and they're both reaching up like this. They're also, the two men are, even though they're looking in different directions, they're also rooted together in unity. So it would be okay if we know that we come from one source, even if we have diversity. So unity creates this tree. And so you see the tree is rooted, and then it also has all of these leaves. And a few weeks back, I told you a story about a woman who asked the tree for advice, and the tree says, root in the moment and extend your hands towards the heaven. So if you look at the picture again, you see the two men are also two hands. Do you see how they're both two hands and they're open? They're empty, which means to come empty to your God, and to not have your own desires and agendas, but to just come empty. And then in that emptiness and in that well-rootedness, we can support a whole bunch of diversity. So all the different colors of the leaves represent diversity, but also represent the chakra colors. And so now you know a little bit more about Speakeasy or spiritual community. And yellow was the color that surrounded it because it was the color that represented hopefulness, a new day, a sunrise. And so that's, this is our logo. This is a root. These are the root concepts of who we are and who we're here to be. And I love that you can look at this symbol and see all of those things in it. And so now you know a little bit more about the roots of our community, and knowing and honoring the roots can actually help you feel safe. It might help you to tell a story when people say, what is this speakeasy thing? You could say, well, look at the logo. That's what you can tell the story from the logo. But the question is, and I'm just using this as an example, the question is do you know your own roots? Do you know your own origin story? We're going to spend time this week shoring up our roots so that we don't build on shaky ground. This foundation can affect everything. If you have root chakra issues, you might find your home or your business in chaos or confusion. You might feel flustered or unsettled or grabby or greedy or needy or controlling. It's like a bad news buffet, or quick to anger, or lack of drive or lack of confidence. So if you have these experiences, you might want to consider that you could benefit from some root attention. A compromised root chakra can cause feelings of being lost or less than or not fitting in, or always having to prove your worth in the outside world. So when we were talking about Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz last week, this is the story is Dorothy, that she felt restless and ungrounded to the point that she literally flew off in her house. And so root care is about trusting the present moment. It's about stability. And I get that it's hard for us to trust stability because we live in a very unstable world. We were talking earlier with Richard, he's literally uprooted. His home is, he's living in a hotel because they evacuated him because of the fires. So the world can be very shifty, but what are we rooting into? So the teachers of God have trust in the world because they've learned that it's not governed by the world. They've learned that there's a power in them that is not of the world. So Dorothy demonstrates that when Glenda says to her, that power was in you all along. This is the thing that if we know, it keeps us safe, because it's the place that we could say, no matter what happens in the world, everything is for me, nothing is against me. And not in a Pollyanna way, but in a really precise and faithful way. And if you practice this, you're practicing demonstrating a God that loves you. It's not so bad to have a God who's completely in love with you. And if you decide, no, I really am large and in charge, and I really do need to worry about this, that, and the other thing, you're saying, why? Because my God is impotent. So as long as you have a foundational belief in a God that is impotent and who is not for you, you're going to have to hold up a lot of weight in the world. This power that comes from us, it says in the Course in Miracles, it says, who would attempt to fly with the teeny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle has been given him? And who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of the eagle when the gift of God is laid before him? So think about that moment when Dorothy's hot air balloon takes off. The one thing that's going to get her back home is this hot air balloon, and it flies off, and she's like, oh no. And this is the moment where it's like, no, trust the inner power, click your ruby slippers, know that you are rooted in some bigger faith than this. And they don't really show us in the movie how she actually gets home, but that's the miracle, I guess. So more good questions are, where am I placing my faith? Am I placing my faith in the shifty world in the sands of time? Or am I placing my faith in miracles? When you place your faith in miracles, you're more destined for miracles. Einstein says that there's only two ways to look at your life. Only two ways. It says one as though nothing is a miracle, and the other as though everything is a miracle. This idea should make you feel safe, because I don't know if you know this, but Einstein is really smart. He's like wicked smart. He's like a really smart guy, right? So we want to like really test that out without allowing our logical mind to negate it. You know, we want to really just test that out. Am I worthy of miracles? Following Dorothy's story, we see that she has some fractures. Usually root chakras come from early fractures in your life, and it has to do with your parents. So she's living with Auntie M. Who the heck is Auntie M? And those guys, like, who are the guys? Like, it's just a bunch of guys out in the field that she has to make friends with. So no wonder she flies off to find herself in the land of Oz. And immediately, this is when she connects with the witch who guides her, and she gives her the ruby red slippers. And the ruby red slippers are just symbolic. They're saying like, no, you're rooted here, you're safe here, and you need to take the next right step, even if it's scary. And that's when she begins to follow the yellow brick road, follow the road of light. So the questions we want to ask ourselves is, am I trusting that there is a path for me? Where have I forgotten my connection to this inner power? And where do I trust God? Where do I feel unsettled? Where do I feel safe? Where do I feel unanchored and out of control? Where do I have no boundaries? Where do I feel unsupported? And we're going to question these things, not just so we can look at the open wound of our mistrust, but so that we can heal it. And not by running off and shifting the chairs around on the Titanic, but by going within. You know, it's not the fault of the world, but it's what is my part? How do I play with the world? I can point my finger around at every situation that happened in my life and say, oh, it was this guy, it was that guy, it was these parents, it was this situation. And it's like, all of that has to be turned away from, and we get to go inside, because we don't heal the roots by pruning the leaves. Okay? We go to the roots, and to go to care for the roots is how you feed yourself. So what are the stories that you're telling yourself? What are the books that you're reading? What is the food that you're eating? What are the thoughts that you're thinking that are there to fertilize your roots? Are you telling yourself that you're unsupported and then finding 1,000 ways to prove that to yourself? I know I did that. You know, when I thought I was abandonable, I just went around with that script of being abandoned. So you don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to do that anymore. All good business ventures, all good beginnings, all maiden voyages, all relationships begin with a plan, a map, an agreement. So when we do this, we literally sit down with our divine and we say, like, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? Write it down, and then maybe share it with one other person. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm thinking about our relationship. This is what I'm thinking about our business agreement. Like, I talk to Beth Gordon all the time, who I have a lot of collaboration with. We talk about everything. Like, if there's like a fly in the soup, and in the past we might have said like, oh, whatever, we'll just eat around it. We're like, no, there's a fly in the soup. Do you see what I see? Like, I need you to see it, and I need to know that I'm not crazy, so that we can both be on the same page. You know, this is about impeccable conversations, because when we start to work with things and we get to see things clearly, what we think is that the clarity is going to scare us, that the clarity is going to cause somebody to leave us. If I tell you that there's a fly in your soup, you might not like me. But this is never true. Honesty, truth is always empowerment. And not speaking about the things that are bothering you is a cause for codependency, and always leads to greater sickness. So I promise you, if you're willing to tell the truth and really honor where you're at and what the truth is about your situation, like, this is about finances, this is about sexuality, this is about all of the root agreements in your life. If you're willing to truly look at them, you will experience a great empowerment around it. So often we just muddy the waters out of fear of our own truth, and we begin to work all the angles. And then we begin to work the angles so much that we have angles on our angles. And these angles on our angles cause us to live in a maze where we're literally lost instead of a labyrinth. The maze is where we lose ourselves. And the labyrinth is where we find ourselves. I want you to find yourself in the beautiful labyrinth that is the chakras. So here are some tools for you this week. Meditate on the root chakra, on your connection with the earth, on your family of origin. Do the things that you did when you were a kid. You know, have fun, dance, sing, center yourself in the things that you love to do. Do yoga. Richard was talking about his pet. Like, pets are very grounding, you know, so be with your pets. Take walks, take deep breaths, take mindful walks around your neighborhood. Feel your feet connecting to the earth. Clean out your basement, but really it doesn't even have to just be your basement. Clean out anything that's congested in your life, your desk, your closet, your garage. Wear red. Well, you know, maybe garden or water your houseplants if you don't have a garden, and ask the oldest member of your family to share their stories with you. Get with your story of origins. One other thing which I really love, which I haven't done in a long time, is get reflexology. Oh, somebody rubbing your feet, man, it's good stuff. Get yourself a pair of ruby red slippers. And remember that the roots live on the unside scene of life. This is the same about our spiritual connection. The tree is only as strong as its roots, and this is true for us. When a baby roots for his mother's breast, he's actively looking for his source. The sweet mother's milk gives the baby all that it needs, in the same way that our source supplies all we need in such a sweet way. And so we're rooting into the sweetness of life. Home, you know, home is so sweet. So your home will tell you a lot about yourself. Take stock in your home. Take stock in what it feels like to be home. These are all very good questions, and you have all of the answers. So go to your roots. And that's the word.
Yay.
Thanks, Gaddy.
Awesome. You can really tell I mean it with my echo. Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. Gonna stand my ground, won't be turned around. And I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground, and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I stand my ground, and I won't back down. Well, I know what's right. I got just one life in a world that keeps on pushing me around, but I stand my ground, and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I stand my ground, and I won't back down. Yeah, I stand my ground, and I won't back down.
Yeah. Barbara Clevenger is going to share a few words about our community. She's actually the president of our board right now. She's a unity minister, and she's going to do our testimony today.
Well, hi, everybody. 2 years ago, I was a new resident in Illinois. And after 26 years in Metro Detroit, I had joined my daughter and my son-in-law and my granddaughters in LaGrange. And I now live less than a mile from them. I was retired. I was newly free of elderly parent caregiving. I was newly downsized from a house to a 1-bedroom apartment. And I was newly single. I was searching for people of like mind. I was looking for my tribe. My ideal tribe was a new thought spiritual community. So I'm very good with Google. I Googled Unity Spiritual Centers. I Googled Centers for Spiritual Living. I Googled New Thought Communities. I found Bodhi Spiritual Community in Chicago. I found The Well, a spiritual center sponsored by the Sisters of St. Joseph. Both were good tribes, but not my tribes. One afternoon, I attended a spiritual class at a new friend's home. Maureen Muldoon sat down on the couch next to me. She told me about Speakeasy. I was shocked. Speakeasy sounded exactly like the tribe I was seeking. How did it take me 15 months to find out it was here? I cleared my Sunday morning schedule. I attended a couple of 10:30 Sunday services. Then COVID-19 descended. Speakeasy moved to Zoom. While others were experiencing sad losses due to the lockdown, I was happily getting to know my amazing new tribe. I jumped right in. To my delight, the classes and events at Speakeasy were exactly what I wanted and exactly what I needed. As wonderful as the events and classes were, it was the Speakeasy people I loved. I especially loved Maureen and all she touches. I was uncomfortable telling people who were struggling with COVID losses how much I was enjoying Speakeasy. I now wake up each morning to Miracles 365, Course in Miracles call. On Mondays and Wednesdays, I am in Write-On sessions. I attended the Writers Retreat in August. I am doing the 61 evening Maiden Voyage Prayer Share at 8:18 p.m. Wednesday evenings, I'm enjoying the Voice, Visibility, and Vision class. Friday afternoons, I Zoom with Maureen Claffey's Art Meets Soul class. And I just started teaching an Enneagram class 2 Sundays a month. So for 6 months, I have been gratefully learning, growing, playing, and praying with my tribe. And I encourage you to do the same.
Well, hallelujah and amen. That's some sort of testimony, man. I didn't realize you were in all those classes. You're as thirsty as me. You know, when I first started Speakeasy, the vision was a place to take a class and teach a class. And you're like the personification of that. I love that. Yeah, you know, because to take a class means you're still learning, and to teach a class means you have something to offer. So all of us,
you're especially learning if you're teaching a class.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if you want to support this mission and all that it stands for, Pam has put up the information in the chat. So go on over there and show your love.
Talks about revolution as though it's already passed her by. Bob Dylan didn't have this to sing about, you know, it feels good to be alive. I was alive and I waited. I was alive and I waited for this right here, right now. There is no other place I'd rather be. Right here, right now, watching the world wake up from history. I saw the decade and I've seen the world could change in the blink of an eye. And if anything, then there's your side. Oh, the
Nice.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for all the music that you bring. It's so awesome. Love being in conversation with you all the time. This is going to be a fun series. I'm glad that you're here.
Me too. I'm so glad I'm here, and I thank you so much, and I'm so grateful for all of you and all of your support. It really is keeping me alive, so thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I love you.
We love you too. Let's take a moment just to turn within for all that's been stirred up and contemplated in regards to our roots, for the idea that we're literally having a garden party together, that we are allowing ourselves to root into the beauty and the sweetness of our own divinity. And I just give thanks for this container of Speakeasy that allows us, invites us into speaking easily about these concepts, and that everyone is invited. You know, everyone knows about the color red. Everyone understands the idea of a root in a flower. And so I absolutely know and claim at every level and every entranceway to this conversation is not only welcomed, but worthy. So I give thanks for all of us moving into this beautiful conversation, that there's nothing to fear. It's an ancient wisdom that brings us to a modern and a revelation of ourselves. And I just bless our time together this week specifically for establishing a real clear idea of who we are and what we have. And to be willing to have those tougher topics and conversations flutter to the surface so that we can really be in integrity with who we are and what we're here to do. And I give thanks for it all, for the laughter, for the joy, for the creative nature, for the colors, for the healing that happens as we continue through this journey. I give thanks for our musicians and for our artists and for our activists and for our everyday angels, for our authors who make up this delicious conversation every week, and for all the conversations that spring from it. I give thanks for that creative heart that lives at the center of our being. And so for all of this and so much more, I give thanks. I give so much thanks and so much gratitude for the effortless healings that come to each of us by right of our consciousness. I give thanks. And I surrender all of these intentions into the powerful energy of God's love, knowing that this is done. It's done unto us as we believe. And I move into the feeling nature of full acceptance. And I simply let it be. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
So it is.